All right, welcome to week 2 of the Meyer Square Cutting Challenge that I've been doing with my HEMA club. And I'll try to link to week 1 if for any reason you are actually interested. So, day 8, that was doing 6 sets of Meyer Square. And in day 7, we were doing second cut as a feint, whereas this time it's a third cut as a feint. And I'm still trying to get used to kind of doing the cuts correctly and not whacking anything around too much, which is easier said than done, I would say. And starting to work on, I don't think I'm working on footwork here, was trying to focus on a target because I think it was mentioned that some of my targets are a little bit low. Actually here I think you can see, even though I've been trying to do some feints or fehlens, or I'm not even sure how I would pronounce it, you can see that my target's still pretty low. And I'm going to try something different and speed up, or try to speed up the clips. So here we go. Now, day 9, that was 7 sets. It's funny looking at this now because at the time, 7 sets seemed absolutely ridiculous, and I could not manage or comprehend how I could possibly do them. But now, as I'm watching this, it's basically almost a breeze by comparison, which is partly why I want to record these. I know I keep mentioning this, but I want to track progress. So even if nobody else sees these, or if only one other person sees these, then hopefully it will still be valuable to me because I can sort of see how far I've come, and yeah, just kind of good to look back, and also an opportunity to analyze my different kind of points, or kind of the things that I've been struggling with. So here we're supposed to do 7 sets, as I've said, but the second cut is to long point, which I don't know how easily that came across, but and I think even you can see here, I either threw in a long point when I shouldn't have, or I was supposed to do a long point as the second cut, but that did not happen very well. And kind of working on some of trying to get the rising cuts a bit better. Oh, and I almost lost my balance. There's a lot that I like about this garden. It's a pretty decent size garden. I'm very fortunate to be in the house share that I am. A bit of a downside is that it gets muddy very easily, and since the times that I have been doing these drills, it's been pretty cold, pretty damp at times, quite wet, and that does make it a little bit difficult to, even if I was good with the footwork, it would be very difficult to do because I have to basically take my foot. It almost feels like I'm wrestling my foot away from the ground. I can hear visible squelching. I mean, that's part and parcel with living in a country that has somewhat mediocre weather, although I grew up in the Midwest, so I really can't complain that much about the weather. So I think, right here, about 5, and got a little bit more. Actually, I'm think I'm getting a little better with the long point, not by much, but is at least something. And day 10 was a rust day, which is always good. And here, it's about -5 today. Roughly 22 Fahrenheit. Still gonna do some Meyer squares. Yeah, normally I don't really record or include the bits where I'm trying to set up the camera or anything, but I did want to capture this one because it was so cold. I don't know if you can see the frost. There was also quite a lot of fog that day. I think that may have been the day where it was just very, very foggy. And I think I did have to go out to possibly meet with a friend, but my bike was completely frozen, frosted. It was not a good time. But day 11 was just 7 sets, nothing fancy, no long points, no short edges, no hokey pokies or anything. So that at least was good. And I'm at least getting a lot faster here, which is good. Now, I don't know, perhaps some of that speed, it does mean that I'm sacrificing the form a little bit. I have seen a few times where I don't think my cuts were quite as precise as they could be. But this point, as you can see from the fact that my breath is very visible, it was cold. I think in the bird feeder in the back, well, not bird feeder, I guess bird bath, that was pretty frozen over, ground very frosted. Yeah, can you tell that it was really cold? That's basically the main conversation throughout those few days. It's just, oh yeah, it's bloody freezing, or joking, it's practically balmy, break out the shorts, break out the sunscreen. So I do appreciate that a lot of people have a similar sense of humor as I do. So I don't remember if it's around here that the squares were starting to click a little bit. I still was looking at the diagram very much so, but seems like it was a little bit less. And hey, I'm already on my 6th set, so only one more to go, though it's a little bit of a stumble, bit of a wobble, but it's good to have that progress, to mark that progress. And especially in that cold weather, I'll have to look up exactly what the temperature was that day, because yeah, very miserable. This day, also cold, but I was actually sensible and wore a winter coat and hat in addition to my undergloves. Although this one, day 12 was very odd. Not only is it 8 sets, but the second cut was to short edge. Now, I don't think last week had any cuts to a short edge. I think it was all, if it was beyond the usual Meyer square, I think any variations included fehlens or longpoint. So this was my first attempt at short edge, and first I had to remind myself what the heck the short edge was. And so it seems to be, and I'm sure others can correct me, it's basically would ordinarily be the edge that's basically it's the edge where it feels very weird to actually swing in that direction. I'll try to see if I can put an actual definition somewhere, because I'm clearly not doing it justice, but it is basically if there are cuts that just look very weird, so like that one, if you can see here, instead of, or well, actually, there were times where I may have thrown in a short edge by accident, but yeah, basically where I ordinarily would swing the sword one way, I just swing it the other way. So yeah, kind of, at least that's what I'm attempting. Again, because part of the challenge is to kind of improve your form, improve your overall, just the overall way that you're doing the cuts. So here, it is good to have those extra variations, like throwing in long points or feints or short edges. But of course, it means in my case, because I haven't been doing HEMA very long, that whenever there's something extra thrown in beyond a usual set, then other bits are going to suffer. So, like, footwork is okay. I'm not quite as precise with my crosses. I've been trying to, as I say, have the sword and the body lead rather than my feet, but that was very much a mixed bag. But have I lost count here? There were definitely a lot of times. You can tell that I'm more or less reacting to this live. I mean, I've seen these before as I've kind of uploaded them. I haven't decided yet whether I would upload the individual days to YouTube or at least make them public. I guess it would depend whether anybody actually wants that for some reason. More likely it'll be like years from now when I want to be nostalgic and look back. But hey, I have made it through and trying to get through short edge. Now with the day 13, this was another one with the short edge, which again felt very odd, but had to give it a go. This one was, instead of 8 sets, 9 sets, which again, with every increase in sets, it seems like it's more difficult, and my shoulders and arms are just not happy with that. But again, that's kind of the point, to work on endurance, to just get a little bit better than you were yesterday. And for better or worse, I do seem to be a little bit faster. Not sure how necessarily good that is, because do try to aim for form rather than necessarily speed. But hey, and this time, instead of the second cut being to short edge, this time it's going to be the third cut. And I don't remember if I've been talking all about Meyer square this, Meyer square that. I put an image of the Meyer square in the last video, but I'll see if I can do that here along with my haphazard version of the left-handed Meyer square, because that's what I'm doing. So if anyone for any reason sees this and says, doing it wrong or doing it backwards, well, I'm a lefty. I do everything backwards, or so it seems. I think it was still pretty cold then, but since I'm no longer in a winter coat, I was assuming it's a little bit warmer. I say I'm assuming because honestly, January has been a month. It has in some ways sped up. Like, I can't believe as I'm filming this or recording this, we're getting to the end of January, and yet it's also just dragged on so much. It's not necessarily been a great month for me, and certainly not for the world at large, and we'll just leave it at that. So all that to say, the days have been blending together. So while I think it was pretty cold, but not as cold as it had been, I could not tell you. I basically have to look at notes to remind myself what I was supposed to be working on, what I thought went well or what didn't. So, but other bits I basically have to react live. So, for example, here I think, as usual, footwork's a little bit off. While I try to kind of lead with the sword and then shoulders and then feet, doesn't always work out. And the short edge it's okay, but I don't think it's necessarily the best. But yeah, let's see if I can find another moment to just speed up a little bit and hold on. Day 14, so that's again the end of the second week, and this is purely a regular Meyer square, so 10 sets, nothing fancy, and so I thought I would have the opportunity to be a little bit faster than I have been. And yeah, I'm kind of powering through because of that, and I think I was also preparing to get to work, and nothing else. It does look like I've got a lot more power behind these, which is good, though my crosses don't necessarily always look like crosses. Like, sometimes they do. I think there are times I'm like, okay, that is definitely a very pronounced X, but other times it's just kind of floundering a bit. Now, I do recognize that part of this could be working with a foam boffer, which is, in my albeit very limited experience, a little bit bulkier or anything like that compared to a steel weapon. I mean, certainly the few times I've held a steel fetter, that's definitely been a lot more nimble, easier to maneuver, but I'm gonna have to save up for one of those, because it's I have chosen an expensive hobby, y'all. I've been loving it. It is such a good outlet. It's been fascinating, kind of been really good groups of people, but also it's so expensive. Oops, whacked the tree. And I feel like I should apologize to that tree, but at this point I think they're used to it. I think, yep, that's 7, so we are really getting to the close or the end of it, at least until I put together week 3. Things are a little bit busy in my personal life, so I don't know how much I will, or how quickly I will get some of these put together. And once the challenge is over, I'm hoping to have at least a few videos that aren't quite as involved. And I know I don't have to be involved or put a lot of effort into any of these, but I still want to. I still want to have like a weekly summary, so to speak, or at least a summary of what I've done for that week. So yeah, if you made it this far, I guess give it a like, subscribe if you're at least vaguely interested in what I've got. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I guess I will see you later for more Meyer Square fun.